The twin suns of planet Varkos hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the busy marketplace. Many alien species walked between the stalls, buying food, metal parts, and glowing crystals. But today, the market felt different. There was a strange tension in the air. The aliens whispered and glanced nervously at a small human child walking alone near the trading zone. The child's name was Eli, only 8 years old, small, quiet, and curious. He wore a simple blue jacket and held a small scanner in his hand. His parents worked with the Terran embassy, and Eli often followed them to the market. Most aliens gave humans plenty of space. Everyone on Varkos knew the rule: do not harm humans. Never harm human children. But one alien officer believed he was above these warnings. Officer Varkal of the Varkos military walked with heavy metal boots and a swollen sense of pride. His thick green skin and sharp armor made him look powerful, almost invincible. He believed humans were weak, soft, and overrated. He never understood why other aliens feared them. When Varkal saw the human child near the restricted zone, his eyes narrowed. "What is this?" he growled. "A human brat wandering where he should not be?" A few aliens nearby quickly stepped back. Some even hid behind their stalls. They knew what could happen if a human was hurt. Eli looked up, confused. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know this was not allowed. I'm just scanning." "Silence!" Varkal barked. His voice echoed through the metal pillars. "You humans think you can walk anywhere and act like you own this planet." Eli opened his mouth to speak again, but before he could, the officer grabbed his shoulder and struck him with the back of his armored hand. The sound was loud. The market froze. Eli fell to the ground, his small hands scraping against the rough metal floor. He gasped in pain. A trickle of blood ran down his cheek. And then, silence. A deep, heavy silence filled the market like a storm ready to break. Every alien present stared at the officer with wide, horrified eyes. Even the wind seemed to stop. Somewhere, a glass dropped and shattered, but no one moved. A vendor, an old blue-skinned Cerny, whispered in terror, "You fool! What have you done? You touched a human child." Officer Varkal scoffed. "So what? He is a weak little creature. Humans are not gods. They bleed like everyone else." Another alien shook his head violently. "You do not understand. Humans are Deathworlders. They are not like us. Their bodies are strong, their minds stronger, and their leaders. No one wants their anger." But Varkal only laughed. Eli struggled to stand, tears in his eyes. The officer looked down with disgust. "Go back to your humans," Varkal said cruelly. "Tell them to control their pets." Those words were his final mistake, because someone had already called the human security team. The ground trembled as 3 human soldiers rushed into the market. They wore black Terran armor with glowing blue lines. Their faces were calm, too calm. Their silence was far more frightening than shouting. The lead soldier, Lieutenant Mara, knelt beside Eli. "Stay still, kid. I'm here." Eli nodded shakily. He hit me." Mara's face did not change. No emotion, only cold focus. She stood and turned to the officer. Her voice was soft, too soft. "You struck a human child," she said. "Do you know what this means?" Officer Varkal lifted his chin. "He entered a restricted area. I followed the law." "No," Mara replied. "You followed your pride. And you broke the treaty." Aliens around them whispered desperately, "Please. Humans must not become angry. This will bring the Terran fleet. We are doomed." Officer Varkal tried to stand tall, but his confidence slowly melted under Mara's unblinking stare. "We already informed Terran Command," Mara said flatly. "Their response will arrive soon." Varkal frowned. "You are bluffing." But the sky above them suddenly darkened. Everyone looked up. A massive shadow passed over the marketplace. A ship, huge, silent, and shaped like a black spear, moved through the clouds. It was not a transport ship. It was not a diplomatic ship. It was a Terran dreadnought. The aliens gasped in fear. That ship is only used when humans are preparing for justice. No, they won't destroy us, right? They only came because of the child. Officer Varkel's face turned pale. Lieutenant Mara did not smile. We warned you, she said quietly. We always warn everyone. Humans protect their children with everything they have. Eli weakly held her arm. Are they angry because of me? Mara knelt again and brushed his hair gently. No, Eli. They're not angry at you. They're angry for you. Her eyes grew serious. And that makes all the difference. The dreadnought in the sky released a low, thunderous hum. Shops shook. Lights flickered. The air vibrated. Varkel stepped back in panic. This is madness. He is just a child. That, Mara said, is exactly why the Terran command is coming. The aliens knew the truth now. A line had been crossed, and humanity would not let it pass. The giant Terran dreadnought floated over the marketplace like a silent mountain in the sky. Its black metal surface absorbed the sunlight, giving it a terrifying, shadow-like look. Every alien in the city could feel its presence. It was not simply a ship, it was a message. A message that said, "You hurt one of ours. We are here." In the marketplace, the crowd slowly backed away from Officer Varkel. His arrogant posture was gone. His heart beat loudly, almost painfully. His own people, the Varkosians, refused to stand near him. They knew what a Terran dreadnought meant. A nearby merchant whispered, trembling, "That ship can erase a mountain with one shot." Another alien answered, "It does not matter what it can do. It matters what humans are willing to do if one of their young is harmed." Lieutenant Mara stood straight, calm and cold. She spoke into her wrist device. "Terran Command, we have secured the child. He is safe." Requesting instructions. Static filled the device. Then a deep voice responded with a level tone that sent chills through the crowd. "Lieutenant Mara, do not allow the officer to leave. Command ship will make contact in 5 minutes." Eli, the human child, held on to Mara's hand. His cheek was bruised, and dried blood stained his jacket. He looked at the huge ship in the sky with wide eyes. "Are they mad because of me?" he whispered. Mara knelt again, her face softening slightly. "No, Eli. They're not mad at you. They're protecting you." The aliens listened, stunned. Humans protected their children with a level of seriousness no other species understood. Officer Varkel tried to speak. His voice cracked. "This is unnecessary. I did not break any law. The child was in a restricted zone." Mara stared at him, her eyes cold as ice. "You struck a child," she said. "Human law is clear. Terran treaties are clear. And galactic rules are clear." Varkel clenched his fists. "Humans are overreacting. You act like the child is a prince." Mara's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "To humans, every child is." A heavy silence fell over the marketplace. Then, from the sky, a glowing blue beam descended slowly. It did not burn or destroy. It simply created a platform of light. A figure began to descend inside the beam. The aliens gasped. "Is that a Terran High Commander? Why would someone of that rank come here for a child? What kind of species cares this much?" The figure stepped out. He was tall, wearing a long black coat with a silver insignia. 3 stars arranged in a triangle. His presence felt even heavier than the dreadnought above. This was High Commander Renvale, one of the most respected and feared humans in the galaxy. He walked forward silently. Every alien moved aside. Even the ground seemed to tremble under his steps. When he reached Eli, he knelt down, not to examine the bruise, but to look into the child's eyes. "Did he hurt you, Eli?" the commander asked softly. Eli nodded. Commander Renvale stood. His expression did not change, but the air around him grew colder. "Officer Varkel," he said in a calm voice that made everyone shiver. "You struck a human child under Terran protection. Do you understand the weight of this action?" Varkel swallowed. "I followed our law." "No," the commander interrupted. "You followed your pride, and you endangered the peace between your world and ours." The officer tried to speak again, but his words failed. Commander Vale continued, "In human history, there is no crime worse than harming a child. For thousands of years, we defended our young at any cost. It is part of who we are." A Varkosian elder stepped forward nervously. "High Commander, please, we apologize. This was not a political attack. It was one officer's mistake." Commander Vale turned to him. "We know. That is why your city still stands." The elder bowed deeply, understanding the truth. If humans believed it was an attack on purpose, the dreadnought would not be floating quietly. Mara spoke. "Commander, we have witnesses." The officer openly mocked and struck the child. Commander Vale nodded once. "Then the course is clear." He stepped closer to Varkol. The Varkosian officer trembled. His armor clinked with every shaking breath. I did not know humans cared this much," Varkol said weakly. "You did not know," Commander Vale replied, "because you never respected us enough to learn." He raised a small device from his coat. The aliens gasped. Some screamed, but the commander didn't aim it as a weapon. He simply pressed a button. A holographic message appeared above them. It showed the Galactic Treaty of Child Protection signed by all major species, including Varkosians. "You broke your own law," Commander Vale said, "and now you must answer for it." Varkol collapsed to his knees. I was wrong." "Yes," the commander said softly, "but your regret comes too late." Two human soldiers stepped forward. The officer was taken into custody. Eli squeezed Mara's hand tightly. He watched as the officer was carried away, not with hatred, but confusion. Commander Vale placed a gentle hand on the child's head. "You are safe now, Eli, and you will always be safe. This galaxy may not understand humans yet, but today, they will learn." High above them, the dreadnought hummed again, like a giant heartbeat echoing across the city. The message was clear. No one touches a human child, not without facing the full strength of humanity. News of the incident spread across the galaxy faster than light. It traveled through comnet systems, military channels, trade networks, and even pirate frequencies. Everywhere, aliens repeated the same sentence. A Varkosian officer struck a human child, and a Terran dreadnought arrived. For many species, this was more terrifying than any war threat, because everyone knew one truth. Humans do not send dreadnoughts for small matters. If a dreadnought appeared, it meant one thing. A line had been crossed. The Council in panic. In the Galactic High Council, a massive chamber filled with glowing platforms and floating screens, chaos had broken out. Counselor Hrawl, a tall insectoid alien, slammed his mandibles together. Why would humans deploy such a ship over a child? Counselor Mevrin, a calm water being, replied, "You are asking the wrong question. The real question is, why does it surprise you?" A third counselor, a small lizard like Yiren, hissed nervously, "We must stop the humans before this becomes a planetary conflict." But an old, wise counselor, Chairperson Lura, shook her head slowly. "No, we must calm them. You do not anger Deathworlders, especially over their young." Her words spread silence. Every species respected humans for their intelligence, strength, and courage. But they feared humans for something deeper. Human empathy could turn into unstoppable fury if their children were harmed. The Council immediately sent a message to the Terran Command. "Please confirm your intentions. The Varkosian government apologizes deeply. We request peaceful discussion." But humanity did not reply, and that silence scared the Council more than any words. Back on Varkos, on the planet's surface, tension filled every street. Aliens hid in their homes. Shops closed. Patrol ships hovered nervously in the air. In the Terran landing zone, Eli sat on a small medical bed inside a white human med tent. His cheek was gently patched, and his breathing had calmed. Lieutenant Mara sat beside him, checking his vitals. "You're safe now," she said again. Eli nodded, but his eyes looked uncertain. "Am I in trouble?" he whispered. "No," Mara answered softly. "You did nothing wrong." Eli lowered his gaze. Is he going to be killed? Mara paused. Humans were honest people. She did not lie to their young. He won't be killed, she said. But he must face justice. And, are we going to fight? Eli asked, voice trembling. Mara shook her head firmly. No, we don't want war. But we want respect. And safety. Eli looked up at her. Will the other aliens hate me now? Mara placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. The aliens are not afraid of you, Eli. They are afraid of what humans might do to protect you. Before he could respond, a deep vibration shook the ground. Boom! The dreadnought above shifted slowly, turning toward the city. Its giant engines glowed like blue suns. Mara stood instantly. Stay here. Don't move. She rushed outside. The dreadnought moves. Crowds gathered again in fear as the massive ship lowered closer to the surface. Warning sirens echoed through the city. Aliens panicked. Are they going to destroy us? Please. Someone talk to the humans. We didn't hurt the child. Only that officer did. They will wipe out the whole city. A desperate energy filled the air. Commander Renvale appeared on a balcony overlooking the crowd. When he raised one hand, everyone fell silent. His voice echoed through speakers and translation systems. People of Varkos, do not fear. Humanity is not here to destroy your world. A wave of relief washed across the crowd, but it didn't last long. The commander continued, we are here to make sure this never happens again. You must understand humans clearly. We protect our children. Always. Everywhere. Without question. His words were calm, but they hit like thunder. And unless your government takes real action against the officer, our fleet will remain above your skies. A gasp spread through the aliens. This wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Varkosian government's response. Inside the Varkosian capital hall, the leaders watched the broadcast with dread. Prime Minister Zorlak turned to his guards. Find every camera in that marketplace. We must understand exactly what happened. Another advisor spoke nervously. Should we prepare an evacuation plan? Zorlak growled. No. If we look weak, humans will think we are avoiding responsibility. He took a deep breath. We must do something humans respect. Tell the truth. Show justice. And protect the peace. The Varkosians began gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and reviewing the treaty the officer broke. But one leader in the room, General Draven, was not so calm. This is an insult, Draven hissed. A single child should not control our world. Prime Minister Zorlak fixed him with a hard stare. No, General. It is not the child that controls our world. It is the humans. And we are very lucky they choose peace over war. The human child speaks. Back in the med tent, Commander Renvale entered quietly. Eli looked up, surprised. Commander! The tall man sat beside him. You are brave, Commander Vale said. And you did nothing wrong. Eli hesitated. Everyone is scared. Because of me. No, the commander corrected gently. They are scared because they finally understand what humans are. He leaned closer, voice calm and firm. We are the species that survives Deathworlds. We are the species that never abandons our own. And when a child cries, the entire human race listens. Eli's eyes widened. But what happens now? Commander Vale stood. Now, he said. Now the galaxy learns a lesson it will never forget. Outside, the dreadnought's engines roared once again. Humanity was not done. The Varkosian capital was a huge building made of dark stone and glowing yellow lines. It usually felt powerful and proud, but now the whole place shook with fear. The presence of the Terran dreadnought above the city felt like a massive hand pressing down on everyone. Inside the high chamber, Prime Minister Zorlak stood in front of a giant round table. His face was tired, and his horns drooped slightly. Around him stood generals, ministers, judges, and science officers. We must investigate the incident properly, Zorlak said. Humans demand justice, and the galaxy watches us. A minister turned pale. Prime Minister, if we find the officer guilty, Humans will expect punishment. Zorlak nodded slowly. Yes, and we must give it. General Draven slammed a fist on the table. This is madness. One human child falls and we kneel. Prime Minister Zorlak's voice turned cold. We do not kneel. We honor the law. A law we signed. The room fell quiet. The evidence. Technicians brought in screens, each showing footage from the marketplace. The first video displayed Eli walking calmly, scanning small plants and glowing fruits with a handheld device. The child's movements were peaceful and curious. The second video showed Officer Varkle approaching. His posture was aggressive, his tone angry. The officer shouted at the child. Then it happened. Varkle struck Eli across the face with his armored hand. Gasps echoed through the chamber. A judge whispered, "He hit him with full force. The boy could have cracked his skull." Another minister added, trembling, "A Varkosian adult striking an 8-year-old human. That is almost like striking a baby." Prime Minister Zorlak closed his eyes for a moment. "This is not a small crime," he said. "This is an act that could start a war." General Draven growled. "Humans exaggerate." "No," Zorlak interrupted sharply. "Humans protect their young more fiercely than any species we know." A silence fell over the chamber, heavy with fear and guilt. Meanwhile, inside the Terran camp, Eli sat quietly in the med tent, hugging his knees. He wasn't crying anymore, but his eyes were red. Lieutenant Mara watched him with a protective gaze. Outside the tent, Commander Renvale spoke with 2 Terran officers. "What is the child's condition?" he asked. A medic replied, "He will heal, but he is shaken. He fears the aliens will blame him." Commander Vale exhaled slowly. "Eli is not the one who needs to worry." The officer asked quietly, "What will we do if the Varkosians try to hide the incident?" Commander Vale answered without hesitation. "Then we will show them that humanity does not forget." His voice was soft, but the threat beneath it was unmistakable. The galaxy watches. On distant planets, hundreds of alien species watched news reports. The hardy Grask looked nervous. The peaceful Ulran covered their mouths in shock. Even the proud Zorian Empire sent a private message to its citizens. Avoid conflict with humans. Their response is unpredictable and powerful. In a pirate asteroid colony, a rough captain laughed nervously. A human kid gets slapped and a dreadnought shows up? Imagine if someone touched an adult. Another pirate replied, "I heard humans turn entire mountains into dust when they're angry." The galaxy wasn't laughing. The galaxy was afraid. Interrogation of Officer Varkle. Back in the Varkosian holding cell, Officer Varkle sat trembling. His armor had been removed, and his pride was shattered. The interrogation chamber was cold and dim. 2 judges entered. One spoke sternly. "Officer Varkle, did you strike the human child?" Varkle swallowed hard. "Yes, but he was in a restricted area." A judge raised a hand. "The treaty states no child may be harmed, even if they trespass." Varkle looked desperate. "I didn't know humans cared this much." The judge stared at him. "That is your failure, and now the entire planet may pay for it." Varkle leaned forward, fear dripping from his voice. "What will they do to me?" The judge answered quietly. "Your punishment is the only thing that might prevent the destruction of our city." Varkle's eyes widened in horror. The message to humans. After hours of reviewing evidence, the High Chamber was ready. Prime Minister Zorlak activated the holoprojector and sent a message toward the Terran dreadnought. "Terran Command, this is Prime Minister Zorlak," he said, voice steady. "Our investigation is complete. Officer Varkle is guilty. He broke the treaty, harmed a child, and acted with cruelty. We are prepared to deliver full justice." The message was sent. Everyone in the chamber began breathing again, until they realized humans still might not accept their decision. Terran Command responds. Above the city, inside the dreadnought, Commander Vale watched the message with a hard expression. His officer asked, "Sir, is their response acceptable?" Commander Vale replied, "That depends. Justice is not words. Justice is action. He turned to a communications officer. Tell them we will meet face to face. No more messages. The officer nodded. Yes, Commander. The march of the humans. The ground shook as a full Terran squad marched through the streets. Their armor glowed cold blue. Their helmets reflected the terrified faces of the aliens watching from windows. Everyone whispered, "They are coming. This is the human judgment. Please let there be peace." At the front walked Commander Vale, calm and emotionless. Behind him, a small metalloy hoverchair carried Eli, wrapped in a blanket. Eli wasn't angry. He wasn't scared. He just looked tired. But the sight of a hurt human child, surrounded by armored Terran soldiers, there was no greater warning in the galaxy. The meeting begins. Prime Minister Zorlak awaited them in the Grand Hall. When Commander Vale stepped inside, every alien bowed their head. Zorlak spoke first. "We are ready to show you the full truth and our judgment." Commander Vale nodded. "Good, because humanity demands nothing less." The hall doors closed behind them. The galaxy held its breath. The news of the alien officer striking a human child spread fast across the station. At first, people whispered about it in fear. But soon, those whispers turned into loud anger. Humans from different sections of the station started gathering near the central hub, talking about what had happened and demanding answers. But the humans were not the only ones reacting. Across the metallic halls, alien delegates watched them carefully. Some felt fear, some felt guilt, and some felt something darker. Commander Ryloth, the alien who had seen everything from a distance, was one of the first to understand the danger. He had lived long enough to know one rule of the galaxy. Do not touch what the Deathworlders love. He had warned the officer earlier. He had warned the council many times before, but no one listened. And now, because of their pride, something unstoppable had been released. The officer who hurt the child was taken into custody. But even from inside a holding cell, he kept shouting that he had done nothing wrong. "They are weak creatures," he yelled. It was just a small strike, but everyone knew the truth now. Humans were not weak, and harming their children was the fastest way to wake a monster. Far away in the human sector of the station, Captain Mira stood with the child's mother. The woman shook with fear and anger. Her son lay asleep in the medical bay, recovering. Even though his injuries were light, the emotional damage was deep. A child should never have to fear walking in a hallway. Captain Mira had seen war. She had faced death many times. But nothing was harder than watching a mother hold back tears. "I promise you," Mira said softly, "the council will deal with this." The mother shook her head. "I don't trust them anymore. Aliens rules. All of it means nothing when my child is hurt." Mira understood. She felt the same. And outside the medical bay, more humans were gathering. Their faces were hard, their eyes full of silent rage. This was not a simple accident anymore. It had become something far larger. The station felt like it was holding its breath. Meanwhile, in a secured meeting chamber, the Galactic Council held a crisis session. Every species had a representative present. The air was thick with tension. "We must calm the humans," said an elder creature with long silver horns. "If their anger grows, the station will fall into chaos." "What do you expect us to do?" another delegate hissed. "Their tempers are unpredictable. We have tried peace. It has failed." Commander Ryloth stood up slowly. His voice was quiet, but calm. "You do not understand humans. You never have. And that is why you are afraid of them." A dozen eyes turned toward him. Ryloth continued, "Humans are not violent without reason. They do not strike first. But when you attack their young, whether you call it a mistake or a misunderstanding, you awaken their oldest instinct." The delegates leaned closer, listening despite themselves. "They will protect their children," Ryloth said. "They will protect them with a fire that even the dead stars fear." Some delegates shivered at his words. The insectoid ambassador clicked nervously. "Are you saying the humans will attack us?" "No," Ryloth replied. "I am saying they will not stop until justice is done. And if you deny them justice, They will take it themselves. His warning hung heavy in the air. Back in the human sector, Sergeant Holt stepped forward from the crowd. He was known for his calm nature, but today his face was cold and sharp. "We will not start violence," Holt said to the gathered humans. "But we will not back down either. We demand that the alien officer be judged publicly, not behind closed doors." A loud cheer rose from the crowd. Humans wanted fairness, not blood. Still, the alien delegates watching from a distance saw something that scared them. Unity. When humans united, they were unstoppable. A small alien reporter whispered to his partner, "Why are they so calm? Shouldn't they be lashing out?" His partner shook his head. "No, this is worse. This is human anger under control." They both stepped back in fear. In his cell, the alien officer finally started to understand the situation. He heard the chants from the human crowd. He heard the council debating. He heard the guards whispering that the station might fall into chaos because of him. Suddenly, he felt far less confident. "What will they do to me?" he asked the guard outside. The guard, a reptilian creature, stared at him without sympathy. "If you are lucky," he said, "the council will decide your fate. And if I'm not lucky?" The guard looked away. "The humans will." The officer swallowed hard. Only now did he understand why some species called humans Deathworlders. Not because they enjoyed violence, but because they were born from the harshest environments in the galaxy, and survived because they learned to fight for what mattered. And for humans, nothing mattered more than their children. As the crowd grew larger and angrier, Captain Mira and Sergeant Holt stepped up onto a platform. Mira raised her hand for silence. "We will hold the line," she said firmly. "We will wait for the council's ruling. But if they ignore justice," she paused, "then we will act." A deep, rumbling cheer shook the entire sector. Every alien watching felt the same chilling realization. The storm had arrived, and the humans were its center. The station lights dimmed as the crisis alarm echoed through every corridor. A message repeated again and again. "All delegates report to the council hall. Emergency session." Humans heard it. Aliens heard it. Everyone knew what it meant. The council was finally ready to announce the fate of the alien officer who struck the human child. But no one felt calm. The entire station was shaking with quiet fear. Humans stood together in massive crowds, silent, serious, and focused. Aliens stayed far back, watching nervously. Some whispered that a war might begin. Others whispered that the council would protect the guilty officer. No one knew the truth. But one thing was clear. This was no small matter. This was a test of the galaxy, and a test of humanity. Captain Mira walked toward the council hall with slow, steady steps. Her face showed no expression, but inside her mind, her thoughts were sharp like blades. Sergeant Holt walked beside her, scanning every corner with cold eyes. Behind them, nearly 200 humans followed, silent as a marching army. Aliens pressed themselves against the walls, giving the humans a wide path. Many had never seen so many humans moving together with such unity. There was no shouting, no chaos, only strong, controlled anger. And that frightened the aliens more than anything. Commander Ryloth stood near the entrance, watching them approach. He felt a bitter sadness in his chest. He had warned the council. He had warned the officer. He had warned everyone who would listen. "Do not provoke the Deathworlders," he had said. But his warning was ignored. Now the consequences were here. Inside the council hall, the delegates sat in a large circle. Their faces looked tense. Some looked scared. Others looked defiant. The air was heavy, like the whole room was underwater. The alien officer stood in the center, hands bound, trembling. Hours ago he had been arrogant. Now his eyes darted around the room with panic. He had learned fear. The council chair, a tall being with glowing white eyes, raised his hand for silence. "Today," the chair began, "we determine punishment for Officer Kuroth, charged with unprovoked assault on a human child." A murmur went through the room. The chair continued, "Before we deliver our judgment, we allow the human representatives to speak." Captain Mira stepped forward. She did not shout. She did not lose control. She simply spoke with calm power. Humans came to this station for peace, she said. We respected your rules. We followed your laws. We trusted your protection. She paused. And yet, our child was harmed. The hall went silent. Myra's voice dropped lower, colder. You may believe humans are emotional, reckless, or dangerous, but today you will see who we truly are. Her eyes locked on the delegates. We ask for justice, not revenge. A ripple of tension moved through the hall. Sergeant Holt stepped forward next. When you harm a human adult, he said, you face consequences. But when you harm a human child, he paused, letting the silence speak. You deal with every human on this station. Aliens shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. Then Holt turned toward the officer. You struck a child, and you called it discipline. You called it normal. But to us, there is nothing normal about hurting the small and innocent. The officer lowered his head. Mira stepped back into the center, raising her voice one final time. We do not want war. We do not demand blood. We only demand that your laws protect us as we protect others. If they do not, then we will protect ourselves. Her final words echoed like thunder. The council retreated to a private chamber to discuss punishment. Outside, the humans waited in a silent formation. They stood shoulder to shoulder, forming a wall of calm strength. Many aliens watched from far away. None dared to come close. Commander Ryloth stood with the humans. He did not belong to their species, but he respected them more than most of his own. You handled this with dignity, he told Mira. You did not let anger control you. Mira nodded. We are angry, but humans do not burn everything around them. We burn only what threatens us. Ryloth shivered slightly. The words were too true. Inside the council chamber, chaos erupted. We cannot punish a council officer too harshly, one delegate shouted. If we go soft, the humans will lose faith, another argued. They are already dangerous. No, this is our fault. Their reaction is too extreme. They are responding better than we ever expected. The arguments grew louder and louder until the council chair slammed a hand on the table. Silence! The room froze. The chair looked around and said, humans did not demand violence. They demanded justice, and they must receive it. Several delegates protested, but the chair cut them off. The galaxy watches us. If we protect the guilty, we will lose our honor, and the humans will lose trust. We cannot afford either. A vote was called. Minutes later, a decision was made. A decision that would change the future of the galaxy. The great doors of the council hall opened. Everyone stood still as the chair walked out. Captain Mira and Sergeant Holt stepped forward. The chair spoke loudly so the entire hall could hear. Officer Kuroth is found guilty. A single breath went through the crowd. He will be stripped of rank, banned from service, and sentenced to 12 cycles of confinement. Humans stared, processing the words. Then the chair finished. And from this day forward, any attack on a human child will be treated as a crime equal to attacking an ambassador. The hall exploded with gasps. The rule was clear. Humans were no longer outsiders. Their children were protected at the highest level of law. Sergeant Holt clenched his fists in relief. Captain Mira exhaled slowly. The humans behind them nodded, pleased. But Ryloth, he watched the aliens' faces. Some looked relieved. Some looked angry. Some looked terrified. And some looked like they were planning something. The storm was not over. It was only shifting direction. The council hall was still buzzing with noise after the announcement. Humans stood together, strong and silent, while aliens whispered in confusion and disbelief. The punishment had been delivered. Justice had been spoken. But the story was not finished. Not yet. Captain Mira stepped forward and bowed her head slightly to the council chair. Thank you for your ruling, she said. Humanity accepts your decision. Her voice was calm, steady, but every alien could hear the warning hidden beneath the words. Sergeant Holt crossed his arms. His eyes scanned the hall, watching every alien expression. Some aliens forced polite smiles. Others refused to look at the humans at all. A few stared with pure resentment. Holt noticed all of them. He knew peace was not guaranteed. The officer who attacked the child was taken away in cuffs, surrounded by guards. His hands shook. His eyes were wide and filled with the fear he had once tried to ignore. He looked at the humans as he was dragged out. Somewhere in his mind, a final realization cracked through. He had not simply hit a child. He had challenged an entire species. And he had lost. When the doors closed behind him, the hall fell quiet again. Outside the council hall, the station lights brightened to normal level. The emergency alarms stopped. The entire station breathed out, as if holding its breath for hours. Humans began walking back to their quarters. But they did not walk like they came. Before, they walked together like soldiers. Now, they walked as a relieved community, still strong but calmer. Children were reunited with families. Parents hugged them tightly. Human officers relaxed slightly, though their eyes remained watchful. Alien citizens stood far away, watching with mixed feelings. Some looked ashamed of what had happened. Some looked curious about humans for the first time. Others looked like they would never forget the sight of humans standing so united. Commander Ryloth approached Captain Mira and Sergeant Holt. "You kept your people safe," he said, bowing his head. "You pushed for justice without causing war. Many leaders could not do that." Mira nodded. "We don't want war. We never want war." Holt added quietly, "But we will end a war if someone starts it." Ryloth gave a sad smile. "That is why your reputation frightens the galaxy." Mira looked around at the aliens watching from a distance. "Fear is not what we want," she said softly. "Respect, safety, cooperation. That's all we ask." Ryloth nodded slowly. "And today you earned all three." The humans returned to their section of the station. Doctors checked the injured human child one more time. The child was awake now, tired but stable. Bruises marked the small face, but the eyes were bright. Captain Mira sat beside the child. "You were very brave," she said gently. The child shrugged. "I didn't do anything." Mira smiled. "You survived. For humans, that is always enough." Sergeant Holt stood at the doorway watching silently. There was something protective in his eyes. Something fierce. Something human. All across the station, aliens sat in their living rooms, staring at news broadcasts. The channels repeated the same message. New law passed. Harming a human child is equal to attacking an ambassador. Some aliens muttered that the humans were dangerous. Others said the humans were strong. Many said the humans were fair. But everyone agreed on one thing. You do not harm human children. Ever. The rule spread across the galaxy within hours. Other planets copied the law. Other species rewrote their treaties. Even governments that hated humans secretly strengthened security around human visitors. No one wanted to be the next example. Later that night, Captain Mira stood on the viewing deck, staring at the stars. The Earth fleet cruiser, Resolute Dawn, floated in orbit, glowing softly in the darkness. She felt Sergeant Holt walk up beside her. "It's over," he said quietly. Mira shook her head. "No, it's only the beginning." Holt frowned. "What do you mean?" Mira pointed at the stars. "The galaxy saw something today. They saw how we defend our children. They saw how we stand together. Some will respect us for it." She paused. "But others will fear us. Fear always creates enemies." Holt nodded slowly. "So, what do we do?" Mira smiled. "We keep being human." The next day, a strange thing happened across the station. Alien families approached human families. Slowly, nervously, some aliens offered small gifts. Flowers, toys, sweets, trying to show apology and goodwill. Human parents accepted them kindly. Human kids smiled shyly. For the first time since the incident, there was peace. Not forced peace, but real, honest peace. Commander Ryloth watched from afar and whispered, "Maybe the galaxy needed this moment. Maybe humanity is the balance we have been missing. Before the humans left the station, the council chair approached Captain Mira with a sealed scroll. "This is the official declaration," the chair said. "A promise from the council to all humans. Your children are now under the highest level of protection in our law." Mira accepted it with a small bow. "For your courage," the chair continued, "the galaxy thanks you." Mira smiled quietly. "Courage is simple," she replied. "You just protect your own." As the human ship prepared for departure, an alien journalist asked a final question on the public broadcast. "What will humanity do now?" Captain Mira answered with the calm strength of her people. "We will continue to explore. We will continue to learn. We will continue to make friends. But remember, if anyone harms a human child again," she paused, letting the galaxy feel the warning, "we will come back." The ship engines ignited, lights flashed, and humanity left the station with their child safe, their dignity stronger, and their reputation greater than ever. Across the galaxy, one message spread: do not fear humans, but do not provoke them, because Deathworlders do not start fights. They finish them.